Welcome to Sense of Style. I'm Stuart. The best 8 designer fragrances according to you. Now, I cheated again. I had to add a niche fragrance. Basically, I compiled this by going over 5 months worth of polls and coming up with the fragrances that were the most popular. There was one niche fragrance that just absolutely destroyed everything in its path. I had to include it. One niche fragrance, 7 designers. And yes, the polls have been going for 5 months. I know I am limited by only 4 options, but every single fragrance on this list has won at least 2 polls. 6 out of the 8 have won 3 or more. These are fragrances that you guys really like and you like hearing about. Fragrance number 1. Now, this is not the number 1 fragrance overall. I'm going to be mixing it up. But fragrance number 1 that I'm going to talk about is Chanel Allure Homme Sport Eau Extrême. This won 4 polls, including Best Chanel, and this one really surprised me. I do like it. I love the scent here, but for a couple of reasons. I can't remember the last time I heard people talking about this one on YouTube. It just is off the radar now. And also, the price is just ridiculous for what it gives you. An especially bad price for the performance. However, the performance in terms of wearability is fine. You're going to get, 4.5 hours of longevity. You're going to get, maybe a foot or two of projection. It'll last about half an hour or so. But it's the scent. It is so well balanced. And look, I really like the scent, and I was surprised how many other people do too. It's a really well balanced between aromatic, you've got some mint, citrus, you've got mandarin, and then sweetness, you've got some tonka. Right amount of each of them, add a little bit of musk. It's an absolutely gorgeous scent. The fragrance is overpriced, as are most Chanel fragrances, but the scent here is just, it's too good to ignore. Fragrance number 2 was not a surprise. It was Jean Paul Gaultier's Le Male Le Parfum. Now, this one won 3 polls, but as I've gone along, the polls have been getting harder and harder and harder because, some of the fragrances were walking away with the earlier ones. This has won 3 extremely hard polls against other iconic fragrances. So this one I knew when it was really popular. The interesting thing about this, though, is I tried Elixir, Le Male Elixir. Earlier in the year, I got a chance to sample it. I really, really got into it. I really enjoyed it. But then when I did the polling between these two, you guys seem to like this more. When I finally did buy a bottle of this and started wearing it more, I noticed that especially in the dry down, like I love the opening of this and it does last a lot longer, but in the dry down, when you start to be able to pick up the lavender and the cardamom, this does remain a little bit too sweet. You have like 3 sweet notes here, which is vanilla, tonka, and honey, and it's just a little much. I love it at the beginning, but it's just a little much. Whereas when it comes to Le Parfum, it's not as explosive in the open, but the spiciness is really well balanced in the mid. So it's vanilla, cardamom, and lavender. That Le Male DNA kind of comes out later. It's not as powerful, but it's still a really, really strong fragrance. Fragrance number 3 is Parfum de Marly Layton. This is the niche fragrance that you guys really adore. It was in 7 polls. It won all 7. It wiped out a whole bunch of other fragrances. It's your favorite niche fragrance, I'm pretty certain. 7 polls is a lot. Anyway, had to include it. And I like Layton, but I don't love Layton, and that's why I was surprised. I was really surprised how much people do like it. Because I noticed that so many people liked it, I put a little spray on here, and I was like, wow, that, not so great, and then I went for a walk. It was still a little cloying and a little heavy. I was forgetting the fact that this is a heavy vanilla fragrance. And honestly, man, don't wear heavy vanilla in summer. It was super hot here yesterday. So as it cooled down, I liked it. I appreciated what it was. Interesting thing about Layton, though, if you look at the accords of Layton and you compare it with this, warm, spicy at the top and vanilla underneath. So the 2 main accords, exact same order, exact same accords. And The major notes in both fragrances, in Layton and in Le Parfum, kind of the same. Cardamom, vanilla, and lavender. Now, this is a different fragrance. It's got apple, a lot of apple. It's also got 3 floral notes in the mid. It's a little bit more unisex. However, the same kind of general construction of the fragrances, warm, spicy, vanilla, they're both the same. This has much better performance. I think the performance here is beast mode, and it does have more vanilla, so it's a different type of vanilla, but that's something to consider. That does seem to be a popular DNA. Fragrance number 4, just like Chanel Allure Homme Sport Eau Extrême, it was another surprise and another fragrance that I really like. It was Prada L'Homme. This won 4 different polls, including most introverted fragrance, best introverted fragrance, and it also won one of the work-related polls. So, yeah, I mean, this one is iconic. This is another fragrance that you just don't hear much about on Fragrance YouTube anymore. A lot of people really do seem to like it. I certainly like it. I think it's a fantastic fragrance. It's an iris fragrance that's, I think, the most powdery of them all. It's got like a ton of lighter iris because it's mixed with neroli and violet. So it definitely comes off lighter. It's got that amber in the base. It's got really good performance for something that is so clean. Normally clean fragrances can struggle. This one is an icon. And I do think there are, in Fragcom right now, there are just so many fragrances, and there's a proliferation also of clones. Sometimes we forget what the real classics are. Number 5 isn't so much a single fragrance. It is 2 fragrances that I polled for which are your favorite new fragrances. Both of them won 2 polls. One of them was Versace Eros Energy. And somebody asked me a couple days ago, when is it going to be released? It's going to be released on August 6th, so this week. It kind of is a little bit late in the summer, I think, for Versace to release it. Now, by the way, I'm not sure if it's going to be released in the United States. I know it's being released in the UK. I know it's being released in continental Europe. Channing Tatum is the face of the fragrance, so maybe it will be released in the UK, in the United States. I'm not sure. 6, I think they put every citrus note that there was in the top. 6 citrus notes in the open. There's a little bit of black currant later on. There's a little bit of amber. Everyone's really excited about that. The second fragrance that's coming out is Guerlain L'Idéal Parfum. That one did surprise me. You guys were interested in. Yeah, it really surprised me, actually. All the reviews are in. Some people compare it to Guerlain L'Idéal Extrême, and some compare it to the original, but they say it's much better. I mean, it has to be a little bit different than both because it has a boozy note. There's amaretto, which is an almond liqueur. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit boozier, I would imagine. But boy, oh boy, the reviews are in, and everyone likes them. It's got a bit of patchouli. It's got a bit of musk. But yeah, you guys really like that one too. And that one is out, so you can grab it now. Fragrance number 6, Club de Nuit Intense Man. The Aventus clone. And it's funny, when I put a lot of inexpensive fragrances in a video, they don't tend to do as well. There are a couple of exceptions of inexpensive fragrances that don't seem to affect performance. People still really like them. This is definitely one of them. The explosiveness of the Aventus DNA from this fragrance has made it an absolute icon. This won 2 polls, including Best Clone, which, it beats some heavyweights. So yeah, it's definitely super popular, and I think performance plays a role for sure. Next one was not a surprise at all. This is a fragrance I know people love. It is Acqua di Gio Profumo. Every time I put this in a thumbnail, a picture of it, the video does well. People love this. This is, I think it won 5 polls. It's best fresh fragrance. People really like it. And the thing about this one is the performance. Fresh fragrances often have a hard time performing. This is a real parfum. You're going to get 8 hours, and the DNA here is just really nice. It's the Acqua di Gio DNA, a little bit darker. So you're going to get C notes and citrus. There are some aromatic notes here, but then you're going to get incense. And it's the 8 hours, though. It's the 8. I mean, when I say 8 hours, when I talk about the length of time fragrance, I actually test them. I take this stuff really seriously. I have gotten 8 hours in the past a couple of times with this. So yeah, it's super strong, and everybody loves it. Finally, we have a Bleu de Chanel, or the Bleu de Chanel DNA. I combined it together. That one, 7 pulls. I do think the EDP is more popular than this, which is the Eau de Toilette. However, it's interesting about Bleu de Chanel. So, very popular DNA. Funny that I was looking at the note breakdown the other day. It's pretty much the same fragrance. Creating the EDP was not some scientific discovery. I mean, it is lemon and grapefruit. It is ginger and incense in both of them. And the only difference with the EDP is they added a big chunk of amber. Really, I mean, other than that, the two fragrances, the DNA is pretty much the same. I do prefer this. I have tried the EDP. I like it, but I like this more. I like it more as Bleu de Chanel, more as a fresh fragrance. And yeah, this DNA is still really popular. It was the only thing that came close to Layton. Anyway, yeah, you guys hopefully enjoyed that. There's a lot of fragrances you like on the list. And yeah, I'm going to keep doing the polls. I like doing it. I like learning what you guys like and giving it back to you. Thanks for watching.